Dun, dun, whatever that means. G'day, how you going?
Thundercloud.
Here in Seahorse Medicine Cafe in the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. Everyone knows Mum calls me James. Yeah, welcome to Chillin Tuesday here in Ginninderra. And, well, look, I've got a stack of books next to me, all ready to read, kind of. So let's get going. Let's celebrate Australian poetry and everything else in between and inside out and upside down. Right, let's begin at the beginning, although there was something before the beginning. But we will acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I broadcast tonight, and all the traditional custodians and First Nations right across this continent called Australia, and acknowledge the continuing connection to the land of the elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. Oh, excuse me, I'm burping away. I've just had a big bowl of boiled carrots with cumin, and now I've got green and purple and orange juice. Well, it's celery, spinach, purple cabbage, beetroot, carrot, ginger, apple, and it's yum. And bits of stuff in it. Anyway, we get right on to the reading tonight. Apple, beetroot, carrot, celery and ginger. You are what you eat and what you put in you if you want to be strong like a ninja. Drink an apple, beetroot, carrot, celery and ginger. Anyway, right. I decided tonight I'm going to go back in time to this book called Australian Poets, 1788 to 1888, the first 100 years of poetry of the colonial settlers here on the continent now called Australia. And there's a bit of great news come out I was reading today. Kagari, the name change from Fraser Island back to Kagari has just about gone through, so from now on you all got to call it Kagari, alright? Just like Stradbroke Island, Minjerribah, right? Brisbane, Mianjin, yada 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 yada. Yahweh? Alright. Australian poets. Look, I wanted to start with Charles Harper because he was known in his time as one of the best lyrical poets around, and that's where I've got the page marked from long ago, and quite a long one. This one's called Two So, Two by Charles Harper. Who would not be a poet? Thus I read in thy proud sonnet, my poetic friend, and until this my full assent was given, there is cannot be, under all heaven, aught happier in itself than the which poetry. But who would not be a poet? Here I pause, forebodingly, my poet friend, because to see all beauty with his gifted sight, to love him, like him with all the soul, to be when life is morning bright, the very centre of delight beyond control, is still to be in like degree too sensible of misery and loss and sight and all the weeping shapes of dole. And this is truth too, that that with saddened heart oft must he from his fellows live apart. For how can men whose every breath of life is drawn in the hot air and mid the strife of prettiest interests have a kindred heart with him who hath built heavenward and apart? The structures of his mind and looking thence over this world thronged universe immense, is want all such embroilments to deplore as light obscuring vapours, nothing more? What ladder of experience can they build to mount with up into a nature filled with beauty, or by mighty truths inspired, or one even with a bold ambition fired? But least of all in such men can there be devotions chiming in sympathy with some pure soul unsecured and alone, struggling on in weariness, unwearied on. Unwearied day and night and day towards the far Mecca of its faith away. Yet thus the poet, armed only with the right to life's dishonest battle oft must come, to front instead of valour mean despite, with envy eye in emulation's room, blotting heaven's sacred light to see unblushing fortune's minions doom to obloquy through some repute unholy or some vile and miserable estate, as such would not trample on the lowly and basely glorify the falsely great. Yet, if a thought like this should mar at times thy tuneful bliss, stronger within thine earnest will be the spirit of song that still thou mayest sing of eloquent eyes that are of sunny thoughts, the ever sunny skies, sweet dreams that swarm round honeyed lips like honey-loving bees, glad birds, fresh flowers, clear streams and trees, all starry bright with golden pips, or with a loud bold chime sing out of that braver time, when worldwide justice from her alpine choir shall read at length in rich reddening skies the gospel of her advent and declare the sacred sign of her epiphany there amid the purple dyes, while all true men, the bravely wise, shall seek her there with fearless feet and free, where the prophet peaks arise out of the shattering mist, the phantom sea of old iniquity. Through dense and rare shall seek her there, breathing with iron lungs the clean mountain air of a supreme up-climbing God-great liberty, then envy not the splendid wretchedness of Mammon's dupes. Sing thy great rhymes for the diviner spiritual times. Our country yet shall know and wisely knowing bless. Downward through the blooming roofage of a lonely forest bower come the yellow sunbeams falling like a burning shower. So through heaven's starry ceiling to the hermit's soul abode comes the Holy Spirit earthward, raining down from God. Now I'm going to go back right to the beginning of the book, and where I've got, and I'm pretty sure, Frank the poet. Maybe not. We've got Frank in here. No, we don't have Frank. We got Francis W. Adams. But this is not him. Oh well. Alright, let's go to Emma Francis, 23. This is quite early. You go. Mrs. W.J. Anderson, aka Emma Francis Baker, born in 1842, died in 1868. Well, that's a pretty short life, 26 years. Youngest daughter of the late Reverend C.K. Baker of Hillside, Morford Vale, South Australia, brought to the colony a year after her birth. Many of the poems appeared in the Australian periodicals under the name of Frances. In 1864, she married Mr. Anderson of Mauritanian civil service and left the colony with sad forebodings, which were fulfilled, that she would never again behold home of her childhood. To depart. Yeah, okay. Alright, so the one I was going to do, so she died overseas. Her works have been collected in a volume entitled Colonial Poems, privately published by Marlborough and Co. London. Yeah, actually she was 25 when she died. So that's a rare book to keep an eye out. Colonial Poems, published by Marlborough and Co. London. Now this book here was published in 1888, so that one would have been published in whatever it was, that 68 that she died, or after that. Anyway, let's get you a song of hers. Thoughts on ending the year 1867. How stealthily the old year dies. We may not catch his parting sighs, or even in the withered grass hear a retreating footstep pass. And yet we know this old year has reached the time to go. We know for us the summer's breath has touched each hill and vale with death, and where the winter flowers have been, and where the grass grew soft and green, 'tis brown and dry, and nature with the old year seems to die. Prophetic, and yeah, she died the year after that. Alright, I'll go randomly over here. Austral, a nom de plume of Mrs. J.G. Wilson of Wellington, New Zealand, nee Miss Adams of St. Enoch's, Victoria, a constant contributor to the Australasian. And this one's called The 40-Mile Bush. Far in the forest's aromatic shade, we rode one afternoon of golden ease. The long road ran through sunshine and through shade, lulled by the somnolent stories of the trees. Sometimes a bellbird fluted far away, sometimes the murmur of the leafy deep, rising and falling all the autumnal day, rolled on the hills and sank again to sleep. Mile after mile, the same, the sky grew red, and through the trees we saw a snowy gleam of Bantam Peak and spectral mountain head, and gulfs that nurse the glacier and the stream. Before us lay the pinewood sombre miles, thick laid with moss like fur upon the floor. Behind the woodland's green monotonous stiles, closed in the west by sunset's amber door. This is the Snow King's threshold and dominion, the frozen ranges white without a stain, like icy wings outspread and flying pinion, ready to soar above the cloudy plains. Deep in the glen, the hollow waters racing sent forth their turbulent voices to the night, and stars above began their solemn pacing, and homely shone the distant village light. Mysterious forest in this humming city, I seem to hear thy music breathing tree. Thy branches wave and beckon me in pity to seek again thy hospitality. And another one by Austral, A Spring Afternoon, New Zealand. We rode in the shadowy place of pines. The wind went whispering here and there like whispers of a house of prayer. The sunshine stole in narrow lines, and sweet was the resinous atmosphere. The shrill cicada far and near piped on high exultant third. Summer, summer, he seems to say. Summer, he knows no other word, but thrills it on the lifelong day. The little hawker of the green who calls his wares through all the solemn forest scene. A shadowy land of deep repose, here where the loud nor'wester blows. How sweet to soothe the trivial care, the pine tree's ever murmured prayer. To shake the scented powder down from stooping boughs that bar the way, and see the vista's golden brown stretch to the skyline far away. But on and upwards do we ride, whither the firs and outlaw bold scatters along the bare hillside, handfuls of free uncounted gold, and breaths of nutty wild perfume salute us from the flowering broom. I love this narrow sandy road that idly gads over hill and vale, twisting where once a rivulet flowed with as many turns as a gossip's tale. I love this shaky, creaky bridge, and the willow leaning from the ridge, shaped like some green fountain playing in the twinkling windows of the farm, just where the woodland throws an arm to hear what the merry streamers sing. Stop the horses for a moment, high upon the breezy stair, looking over plain and upland and the depths of summer air. Watch the cloud and shadow sailing over the forest's sombre breast. Misty capes and snow cliffs glimmer on the ranges to the west. Hear that distant thunder rolling, sure 'tis the making tide, swinging all the blue Pacific on the harbour's iron side. Now the day grows grey and chill, but see on yonder wooded fold, between the clouds a ray of sunshine slips and writes a word in gold. That was Austral and A Spring Afternoon, New Zealand. Yeah, so this was published in 88 and says Australian poets, but sort of at that time, I'm not too sure, but of my history. But it's something like, I think, like the Whiteys were claiming New Zealand to be a bit of Australia at one stage. I'm not too sure, but anyway, don't quote me on that. I haven't got a clue, honestly. But here we go. This one is the Honourable William Forster. Oh, it's quite long, from Midas. Cassandra. Actually, Francis Tyrrell. Oh, here we go. Isabella Cockburn. Giles of North Adelaide, South Australia. The Jubilee referred to below is that of South Australia, which was proclaimed a colony on December 28, 1837, under an old gum tree at Glenelg. Anything about Isabella Cockburn-Giles here? No, nothing. Oh, North Adelaide, right. A Jubilee hymn. God of the nations, hear our song of praise. Almost the youngest midlands are we. Yet time's slow circling of through hours and days now brings us our year of Jubilee. Hear us, our Lord, in heaven, thy dwelling place, and the hearts that praise thee shed thy grace. When from their northern homes our fathers came, seeking a country like the men of yore, leaving behind them their friends and dreams of fame to cast their anchor on this distant shore, thou, O their God, from heaven thy dwelling place didst then behold and guide them by thy grace. Goodly and large the land before them lay, from far blue hills outspread to azure sea, and it became a nations on the day our fathers gathered round a hoary tree, took up the task assigned them by thy grace, to fond on their fair shores a mighty race. Heavy their labours, both of brain and land, hand to organise the state and tame the soil, unchecked by hardship that was stalwart band. Brave hearts they faltered not any toil. Thus, through their courage and thine abiding grace, the infant state took life and grew apace. And now, a fair white city crowns the rise, glazing her beauties in the lake below, whilst far and wide beneath these favouring skies, glad homesteads smile and earth's bright trophies glow. So bounteous Lord, from heaven thy dwelling place, hast thou enriched and blessed us by thy grace. Thou in the past hast helped us, stretch out still thy mighty hand in this our Jubilee. Grant us this grace supreme to do thy will, and we shall be greatest when we best serve thee, and win amongst the nations honoured place, and we shall keep thy laws and seek thy face. All right. So, that's Australian Poets, 1888. There's one more I want to read into here, and now I've got to find it, and I haven't got a clue where it is. I think it's by Anonymous, and it's called The Last of the Kurulbukas. Oh, well. I hope I can find it for you, because I'd really like to read it to you. But it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to find it tonight. So what I'll do, I'll look for it and read it to you next week. No, sorry. I can't find the one that I really wanted to read to you. Well, this is not exactly right, but there's silence. Okay. All right. Dead air. We can't have dead air. We got to have poetry. Right. 2 centuries of Australian poetry randomly opened to here. By Kate Llewellyn. Theatre. With my legs in stirrups, I push you out. It was like a race, with life the prize, and as tricky as knitting underwater. I felt glad, but that's all. They wheeled in the father, and the doctor said his reward was in such scenes. A starfish of embarrassment shrank, beached. I was a prop in their play. I wept all night because no one had mentioned responsibility. My face began to fall in frightened pieces on the floor. At my parents' home, 10 dressing gown days later, a whiskey bottle beside the bed, and a baby, and a dummy, and me the mummy. After your bath, my father took out the scales, and like a lump of butter, half an ounce anxious, my mother weighed you. The petals of your souls flooded on the edge. Now with a top hat and swinging hair, you're on the stage and wowing them, and they clap, and slowly I begin to clap. A stranger. Prosperity by Michael Dransfield. Monday to Friday at the plant, concrete yards are busy with vehicles and movement, although most of what moves is machinery. Now and then, a human figure crosses the open space looking like small and helpless. In the sky above the plant, not much is blue. Behind the buildings in a grey channel, something oozes past something to have been a river. On Friday night, when the machines are silent and the watchman finishes his rounds, walking away with gun and torch like some mistaken supplicant, then only in the dark, finds its way through wire fences, and sometimes due atmospheric conditions for which the management is not responsible. The wind will rise, or in the wasteland hours of industrial Sunday, rain might start falling inadvertently, as if still thinking of a plant as some kind of flower. Well, I'll tell you what, here at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, we've got a couple of wonderful events coming up here. We've got the Bush Dance this Friday with the Big Hairy Bush Dance Band all the way from Armidale coming up here with a professional caller, dance caller and everything. So get online and get your tickets now. Then on Sunday, the 9th, we've got the Poets Breakfast with Paddy O'Brien coming down all the way from the Northern Rivers up there in New South Wales. And he worked here in Guyra, picking spuds in the 60s, so it's going to be really exciting to see old mate Paddy down here as well. So Sunday morning, Paddy O'Brien, Poets Breakfast, there's walk-ups as well. So if you're a poet and you want to get up on stage here on Sunday morning, you are welcome. Yes, you certainly are. And Friday night, the Bush Dance. Get your tickets now, so you make sure you get tickets. Hey, it's a bush dance, and this one's called Small Town Dance, and it's by Judith Wright. Small Town Dance. 2 women find the square root of a sheet. That is an ancient dance. Arms wide together, again, 2 forward steps, hands meet. Your partner's once and twice, that white expanse reduces to a neat compression fitting in the smallest space a sheet can pack on a cupboard shelf. High scented walls there were of flapping white when I was small myself. I walked between them, playing out of sight. Simpler than arms they wrapped and comforted. Clean corridors of hiding roofed with blue. Saying your sins too are made Monday new, and see ahead. That glimpse of unobstructed waiting green. Run, run before you're seen. But women know the scale of possibility, the limit of opportunity, the fence, how little chance there is of getting out, the sheets that tug, sometimes struggle from the peg, don't travel far, might symbolise something knowing where danger lies. If you have to keep things orderly, the household budget will not stretch to more. And they can demonstrate it in a dance. First pull those wallowing white dreamers down, spread arms, then close them, fold those reckoning roads to some improbable world. Put them away and close the cupboard door. Oh, dear me. That's a big yawn, wasn't it? Oh, small town dance. Okay. Starting from Central Station by David Campbell. A moon hangs in the air. Its hands at 10 past 10. My father leaps alive and I shrink to his son. My father strides ahead and stops to have a word with men in caps who laugh. He slips them a reward. The trolley rolls behind with boxes stacked like bricks. Smoke and a whistle blow and I am 56. Houses move through the parks. Streets run with greens and reds. Night conjures up the same old promises and dreads. The train is on its way and daylight gets to work. Puts father in a box and shoves him in the dark. David Campbell. All right. I've got here now the Penguin Anthology of Australian Poetry edited by John Kinsella. Quite a comprehensive book here. And I really don't know where to start. I guess I could start. Here we go, where I open the page. Jim Murray. It's the very first poem called Thunder. Girame dialect. Manga walmanyu mural nunga marangu. Mural walmanyu manga nunga marangu. Mara nyiburu gubu guraragu. Minyamin mindu minba mayajalagu. Munga walmanyu mural nu marangu. Mara nyiburu gubu guraragu. Munga walmanyu mural nugoromangu. Mara nyiburu gubu guraragu. Mina milmindu minba majalagu. Munga walmanyu mural numarangu. In English. A mighty noise rises up, roars as it rushes by, rushes and rises, a mighty noise roars. Hurl out a leaf that is soaked in sweat. Bolts of lightning strike and flare, a mighty noise rises up, roars as it rushes by. Hurl out a leaf that is soaked in sweat. A mighty noise rises up, roars as it rushes by. Hurl out a leaf that is soaked in sweat. Bolts of lightning strike and flare. A mighty noise rises up, roars as it rushes by. Okay, this is the Wankangura people, Song of the Knob-tailed Gecko. Yadna, Wuradi, Pantana, Yadna Pantana, Yadna Wuradi Pantana. The sandhill lizard, Wakul Juru, was in the fire at Ginninderra camp. He tried to protect himself with his shield, but it was burnt. His skin peeled off. Lying among the ashes, he sang this verse. Yadnali Pantana, Yadna Lintidya, Lintidyara, Yadnawara Ra, Yadna Lintiya. It must have been the day after he slowly came back to life amid the ashes. He was not yet a knob-tailed gecko. He was Yuru, that is, a lizard in the sandhill country. You see him anywhere. He's brown with a big head and long tail. His burns have made him look different. He was to turn into a knob-tailed gecko called Mayapalkuru or Chala. Linthit Yalarai, Yadna Wararai, Yadna Linthitya. He remained there. He just lay there flat after the fire, not looking anywhere. He lay there and went on lying there. Not that he was sleeping, he was as if dead. Yapna, Lathuka, Yatu Pantana, Yadna Wura, Yanpa, Yathoka, Yata Patana, Yadna Wuruli. He managed to look up and he saw his own camp. It had been burnt. Makuli, Kulyadna, Makunhai, Tiar, Impirai. He gradually recovered enough strength to move. He named himself in a verse, then he turned the verse around. Charim Parata Makunataha Makulya Kulyadna Makunahai Cha Impara Hafsan Uta Thurkana. And he arose from the dead. Lingwet Yengwi Palyalya, Lingwet Yengwi Palyala Warditi Amanata Lingwemanta. This is how he set out and looked around close by to decide in which direction and which way he should go. Cantieri, Yalara, Rambul Kulyanai, Kanti Liyare, Kambal Kulyanai, Mara Wilpin Pine. He went looking for somewhere to camp, but the country all around was already in twilight. The sun set. He was looking for a windbreak, for a bit of mulga to break up, to make a shelter. Everything had been burnt by the fire. Where can I go to settle? Down among some mulga trees. He went on. There was a mulga tree in the swamp, a mulga tree. The swamp had not been burnt and the tree was standing there alive. He spent the night by the mulga tree and travelled further southwest into the desert. The next day, Pantu Mirlaka Wara Kanpene Widyan Pirya Kawara Kanpene. He saw the Salt Lake Mirlaka then and named them with this song. Purka Nincha Lawuru Purka Nincha Lawuru Lithir Kirki Purka Nincha Lawaru. He was still so ill as the fire had burnt his stomach and he was looking at the lake, and he turned into a knob-tailed gecko because he'd been burnt by the fire. He saw that on the other side of the salt lake, not far from the edge, there lay a huge sandhill. He lay up on top and looked around the area. He was looking for a place where he could go down below the ground and rest for good. He was sick from having been burnt from the fire and his tail had dropped off. Purka, Nyitaya, Lawaru, Lithirki, Purka, Nyitya, Lawaru, Lithirk, Kithirki, Chilara Ruti, Ya Chilara Rut, Yadna Nampa, Kalyara, Runti, Yadnanampa Kuryara Luntayai, Yadnalapa Kuryara Luntayai, Yadlara Tailara Luntayi, Yatla Yallara Challara Luntayai, Yadna Nampa Kalyara Luntayi. At last he found a place to camp. He went to lie down below the ground. He dug himself in below the ground. Then he pronounced a curse, a magic spell. That's it. How about that? All right, so open up at Henry Lawson here. Middleton's rouseabout. Tall and freckled and sandy, face of a country lout. This was a picture of Andy Middleton's rouseabout. Type of a coming nation in the land of cattle and sheep. Worked on Middleton's station, £1 a week in his keep. On Middleton's wide dominions piled the stock whip and shoes. Hadn't any opinions, hadn't any ideas. Swiftly the years went over, liquor and drought prevailed. Middleton went as a drover after his station had failed. Type of a careless nation, men who were soon played out. Middleton wasn't his station, was brought by the rouseabout. Flourishing peered and sadly, tall and robust and stout. This is the picture of Andy Middleton's rouseabout. Now on his own dominions, works with his overseers, hasn't any opinions, hasn't any ideas. Alright, Flesh by E. Mary Fullerton. I've seen a gum tree scarred by the blaze of the pioneer axe mend after long days, lip to lip shut of the separate bark till the gape of the wound was a vanishing mark. I have seen in the hunt the pulse of rent flesh, seen the fingers of time united afresh. I have heard a man's cry as the teeth of the mill bit marrow and bone to hurt, not to kill. Ah, strong is the flesh to cure and defend, 'tis but the stopped heart that time cannot mend. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, okay, well I've got to the end of the books that I was going to read out of tonight, but it's not all, because underneath here I've got Alan Lake's My Photos of Sicily that I'm going to read a few out of, because it's such a lovely little bit of poetry. Hi Alan out there. Signora. Despite what looks to be an expensive leather skirt, spiked heels, full moon, silver earrings, makeup mask, we see through her as she sips her daily espresso at a prominent table in charming, garish piazza bar. We see right through her shopping bag, economy pack of toilet rolls, some onions. Confession. Tiny Sicilian cups and saucers. Each bar with its rustic or modern receptacles for the steaming black stream that quickens my heart. With every espresso comes a tiny plastic cup of perfectly chilled water. I know it's wrong, but I am a guest in Sicily, and besides, there's that notorious Sicilian sun. Rocker. 4 old men, nothing to do but sit outside a cafe bar and watch cars pass on the main street. They lift chins at friendly faces, repeat gossip, nod at well-apportioned women. Hours pass, and they still sit, beverages later unoccupied. I'm accosted by one who says my girlfriend is related to his cousin's daughter-in-law. He treats me to an espresso. Later I learn he owns half of entire bustling village. Rocker. What else? Madonna. Dark, disabled beggar woman. Baby in arm wants €1 for a small card featuring Nordic Madonna and child. I give her €1, wait, then rip card in half, toss it to heaven. The irony. I hang on to that. Piano. In the muddle of Palermo Airport, a grand piano. People glance, some hesitate. One played a single note, then took a bow to imagined applause. A hairy young man with bad skin sat down, monkeyed with a few keys, and then played a haunting version of that jazz standard, Autumn Leaves. And my tears took their leave of some autumn deep within me. Busker. Travelling to history-choked towns in Sicily, I took awe at pagan Christian, Muslim, then other Christian architecture. Narrow cobblestone streets, castle walls that usually failed to hold invaders. Later in the piazza, a lone busker plays songs from the 1960s that move my true north soul, and I lose track of whatever quest I'd undertaken. One more from Alan here, Lake. Words. Just to be perverse, I stop at Old Fashioned Cafe. That's reportedly not doing so well. Gossip, not mafia, is kiss of death here as well. Coffee divine and sinfully yummy apple Danish renews my faith in that original fruit. Sicily, do not ask for bad coffee or an ordinary pastry. They cannot help you. Simply don't know how. Well, yeah, so yeah, that's Alan Lake. And all right, well, look, I've been at it for almost an hour here reading poetry to you tonight, and I'm not reading anything of my own for you tonight, except I am going to remind you that we have the Poets Breakfast on Sunday, and we have the Bush Dance here on Friday night, and get your tickets online. You can find them on eventbrite.com.au, or you can just go to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame Facebook page and then just follow the links from the events there. Alright, well, I'm Thundercloud, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. I've had my little bit of Chillin Tuesday here in Gyra. We'll see you tomorrow night for Wednesday Words here from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. It's going to be an exciting night. And then Sunday morning, yes, the big one, the Poets Breakfast featuring Paddy O'Brien. Alright, now if you've got kids, don't forget I've got movies here on Thursday too, Thursday afternoon for the young people as well. Alright, and Friday karate classes. Alright, one love, see you later. I'm Thundercloud, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rain, signing off from the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame here in Gyra and Chillin Tuesdays. See you later. Boom.